Hey guys, it's Will from Tested. It is time for another edition of the Tested Mailbag. I got some great questions on Formspring today, so let's jump right into it and get started. Hey guys, I'd love to see a feature on speeding up a slow PC. Any plans? You could do a series of case studies. I feel like a lot of people really do that pretty well right now. It's a really hard thing to give general advice. I like to, when we do a story like that, I like to be able to give general advice that it applies to a lot of different PCs so that it helps a lot of people instead of just the one person we're talking about with the broken PC. But I mean, there are some kind of general things you can do that we can definitely talk about in the not too distant future. Luke Weiser wants to know, should I get an iPhone 4 even though I keep hearing all this crap about the antenna being bad? I don't have an iPhone 4 right now. I kind of miss it though, I'll be honest. If you're on AT&T, there's not a whole lot of good smartphone options aside from the iPhone. I mean, if you're a BlackBerry guy, you can go with a BlackBerry. If you're not on AT&T, there are some great smartphone options that aren't the iPhone. I mean, read the review I wrote. That pretty much still applies. Norm likes his iPhone. Jeff likes his iPhone. I don't feel like, as little as I use the phone for calls, I think it's probably okay. If you use the phone for calls a lot, iPhone's probably not for you, though. The next question is from GR Kazan 11. It says, "Hey Will, I'm currently thinking of getting a PC gaming desktop and wondered if it would be wise to wait for the release of Sandy Bridge from Intel or the AMD 6000 series cards." Well, Sandy Bridge is not exactly what you want for a gaming PC. It's designed for kind of low-end, entry-level PCs that don't necessarily have discrete graphics cards, which are what you need for gaming. Sandy Bridge is more for playing, WoW, kind of old or low-end games like WoW, Plants vs. Zombies, StarCraft 2, that kind of stuff. So I would advise against waiting for Sandy Bridge. Waiting for the AMD 6000 series cards is probably not a terrible idea, though, because, I mean, don't know what their timeline is yet. I haven't talked to them about that, but I mean, we're coming up on 18 months since the launch of the 5870 series, so that to me says it's nearly time to get a new graphics card. So if you're waiting, I'd wait 2 or 3 months to see where you're at. The other thing you can do is go ahead and build a machine now that you can use for email and stuff like that, and then drop a new video card in it later if you get something that has integrated graphics, or use your existing graphics card. The next question is about data recovery. My friend has an external hard drive that died on him. I did what you showed on that video, I guess the one where I took apart the broken drive to take the drive out, plug it into the computer for when the drive cage breaks. But their drive simply does not spin or something. Is that hard drive lost? Note, it's not worth professional disassembly and data extraction. I'm not the FBI. Yeah, if you take the disk out of the enclosure, it still doesn't work. Probably the drive is dead. You can send it off. You might be able to do some other stuff. If the data on it isn't that important to you, just let it be gone and buy a new drive to replace it. The nice thing is, if you didn't destroy that enclosure opening it up, it probably will still work for another drive. So you could buy a drive from Fry's or Best Buy or Newegg or wherever, slot it into that enclosure, and you have another external hard disk drive. So there you go. What's better, a 30-inch monitor or a 30-inch HD TV for half the price? Depends on what you're going to do. If you're just playing games, the 30-inch HD TV is fine. If you have limited desktop space but want a lot of pixels, a 30-inch monitor is awesome, but mainly for productivity stuff. I have a 30-inch panel on my desk. You have to have kind of a big system to run, native resolution games on that. So, I mean, you're looking at a $400 or $500 video card, plus an expensive CPU, a lot of memory, all that stuff. If you don't want to spend that money on your PC, 30-inch HD TV is entirely acceptable for gaming and stuff like that, although it's not great for text work. You might be better off with a 27-inch monitor. They're really reasonably priced, and they're like 2560 by, what is it? What's the resolution on a 27-inch TV? It's like, let me look. I'll be right back. You might also look at 27-inch panels. They're available in a couple of resolutions from like 1920 by 1200 all the way up to 2560 by 1440 or something like that, depending on the aspect ratio, whether they're tall or wide or whatever. And they're kind of a happy medium price generally between the giant 30-inch 2560 by 1600 panel that has incredible pixel density and a 30-inch TV that's going to be 1920 by 1080, which is not so hot. Do you ever plan on trying/playing Civilization 5? I installed it last night, but I ended up playing Halo instead and working some, so maybe tonight is the Civ 5 night. I played a lot of Civ 2, played a little bit of Civ 4. Norm is screaming at me that it is awesome from across the room. I really like Civ 2 a lot, to the point that I literally would play for like 10 or 15 hours straight sometimes. I'm the needle's ready. Let's go. What would you recommend for an 802.11g/n router? I currently use a D-Link DGL 4500 and it is atrocious. I have to cycle the power every couple of days. With at most 5 devices connected, usually 2, and only one of which is a heavy traffic user. The D-Link firmwares for their N routers are really bad lately. So if you have a D-Link router, don't upgrade beyond whatever you're using right now. Don't upgrade the firmware. I had a DIR 555 or 655 that basically I had to trash because of the same exact problem. Linksys is pretty good. Asus is pretty good, or Asus, as the case may be, is pretty good. Basically on routers, I would say hit Newegg, check the forums, check the message boards, check the user reviews on places like Newegg and Amazon and see what people say about those. There aren't really a whole lot of places doing good reviews of those, and they're kind of hard to review, frankly. I think they're a little bit outside our scope. The next question is about the future. Do you believe the current way PCs are manufactured on silicon will ever change? Will we always be using silicon for processors? Or will more advanced things become available that will change that? I don't know, dude. I think, who knows what's going to happen if the quantum computer thing becomes real, where there's not just 2 states for the circuits on and off. I think that there's a lot of interesting new technology, and there's a lot of legs left in silicon with memristors and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I don't know enough about that to be able to accurately opine. Are you a clone of Joss Whedon? No, unless my mom and dad aren't telling me something. I have a coffee question coming in. How do you handle coffee storage at home? Where I live, I can only buy good coffee by the pound, which is a lot of coffee just for making espresso. And this is Somite asked this. So there's a couple things. One is that you should store it in an airtight container. People say at room temperature. I had always heard in the freezer before, but that apparently is bad because it cracks the beans and some of the gases and oils evaporate in the freezer. So what I have is some glass or stainless steel canisters are recommended. I use glass that are kind of cinch lids with a vinyl rubber gasket or something that squinches down and keeps them airtight. That's the way I store coffee. Put it on the shelf above something. You don't want to put it above a stove or someplace it's going to get warm, and store it unground. You don't want to store it ground unless you don't have a grinder that can do espresso. If you don't have a grinder that can do espresso and you're getting like your coffee shop to grind it, I would recommend going in and buying a half pound from like a Starbucks or your favorite coffee shop. Typically those guys will be happy to do that for you, and they'll charge a little bit of a premium, but it's better to pay a little bit more for a half pound of coffee that'll stay good than it is to pay less for a full pound of coffee when half of it will go bad. Which do you prefer in your science fiction literature? Hard science fiction or space opera? I like hard science fiction. Norm, do you have an opinion on this?
I like both hard science fiction and...
Norm likes both. I like a good space opera, but they're kind of rare, I find. Usually the space operas get kind of schlocky. MattJam3000 asks a follow-up question about multi-monitor gaming. Can you do a video showing us how to set up different applications on different screens? For example, I'd like to have Counter-Strike on my main monitor and Firefox on my secondary monitor. What you are looking for, this is easy. Set up your monitors just like you would for Windows. Put Firefox on the right, put Counter-Strike on the left, or whatever you want. And in the control panel for Steam games, there's an option that's there's full screen, run in a window, and borderless window, or something like that. Look for the borderless window option. That is what you want. If you set the resolution to the size you want, then it will disappear the border and you can move the mouse in and out when you Alt-Tab, which is all there is to it for multi-monitor gaming. That also works in many Blizzard games. WoW and StarCraft, I know, support the windowed mode. And I'm trying to think what else. I guess that's it. Team Fortress, Steam games, Valve Source Engine games also support that. There is no definite answer on whether task killers are good for Android or not. What's your answer? Do you use them? I do not. I'm using Watchdog. It alerts me when something gets out of control on my phone. It hasn't warned me yet, though, so I almost think I can probably just turn that off and go without the task killer. My battery has been much better since I stopped running Advanced Task Killer in the background now, to the point that I was having to charge by 3 or so with the Captivate. Now I get all through the day at 10 o'clock, it starts beeping that the battery's dead. So take that as you will, but that's my opinion on the task killer question. Do you have any suggestions for Bluetooth AD2P headphones that are good for active people? For example, jogging. On headphone controls are a bonus. I do not. I haven't tested any of those things. I kind of don't like wireless audio just because I feel like the quality isn't as good and I don't need other stuff to charge. I would say that is a user review situation on Newegg or Amazon or wherever. Look for something that has a whole bunch of positive reviews and buy that and you'll probably be okay. The next question is about Kindle cases. Is the Kindle 3 case with the light worth $60? Or should I wait and get a third-party case that's cheaper? And that's from Evil Empire. I like the $60 case. I think it's pretty awesome. I think it's definitely worth $60 if you like reading in bed without the light on. I mean, I would definitely pay for it. But I mean, if $60 is a lot of money, then probably you're better off with just a sleeve or something that's a little cheaper. I mean, because you probably already have a light up behind your bed on the nightstand. So this question is about iTunes/iPod Touch podcast syncing. And this is one of my big peeves about the whole iOS platform, is that there's no way to manage iPod podcast downloads on the device itself. I mean, you can go into the iTunes store, find the podcast in there, and tap the individual items. That's really a drag, and that's not, I mean, that podcast should be easier than that. There are a couple of pod grabber apps, but they don't dump stuff into your library on the iPhone. And unfortunately, I can't remember what any of them were called off the top of my head. But look for Podcatcher, search for Podcatcher in the iTunes store. If you can't find anything, ask again next week, and I'll find an app that you can use. The bad news about that is they don't show up in the normal iTunes player, the iPod player, when you do that. You have to go into this specific app to access the files. So that's kind of a bummer right now. AngelFan91 says, let me be honest by saying I love Tested. I've yet to find a tech website that's more friendly and engaging, but I feel like most of the topics on Tested are over my head. Would you guys ever consider a Tech 101 video or series of write-ups? Thanks. Yeah, we definitely would. If you have questions about specific stuff, post in the forums. You know, let us know. And I mean, I can't promise that we'll cover everything you have questions about, but I mean, we'll definitely write about some stuff. And I bet that if you ask questions in the forums, then people will help fill in the gaps in your knowledge. So definitely ask for help. I mean, we're trying to make a place that's friendly and open to people who ask questions. So there you go. Will you be doing another live show for the public? The show got me even more excited about Whiskey Media. Yes, the answer is yes. I don't know when, but yes.
2 of them.
Mike Tatum says 2 of them.
Tomorrow, Australia.
Yeah, we're coming to Australia. That's the other side of it. You can see us live and in person in Australia. Alice Springs. Be there. 2012. Hey, this is good news. This is a follow-up from last week. Hey, Will, I'm the dude with the Flash video troubles. I'm not sure why I dismissed drivers so quickly at first, but in a blaze of glory, I reinstalled both sound and video card drivers. Voila! Now my video works. Awesome. And on that good news, that marks the end of today's Tested Mailbag. As always, if you have a question, you can send one in at formspring.me/tested, and well, we answer more or less every Friday. I think Norm might be here next week, so ask Normie questions next week. Thanks for watching. See you guys next week.